Welcome back to CX in the Wild Season 4.
I saw your work at CES this year earlier. We were going to try to connect at the show. We didn't get a chance to connect, which is actually probably better now because I can edit you potentially into one of my YouTube videos. So you'll get more content. I will cut up this content and I will send you all the footage so you can use it as well.
Cool.
So why don't we just start with this? Who are you and what do you do?
Okay. So my name is Ulysses Wong, and I'm the CEO of Softmatter. We are a subsidiary of MAS Holdings. And so what we do is we integrate technology with textiles.
Okay. And can you walk me through the start to this industry? How did you come up with this idea? Where did the business need in your mind arise from?
Yeah, so a little bit of context as I answer that. Our parent company, MAS Holdings, is a apparel company, and it's been around for over 30 years. Our main, top customers are Nike, Lululemon, Victoria's Secret. So it's that kind of complex apparel that we've been involved with. We've always had an innovation group, and spun out from this innovation group, maybe over 5 years ago, maybe about 7 years ago, is this wearable tech group that is a predecessor to Softmatter. And the need we saw was the need for technology like lighting and possibly heating to be embedded into garments, right? On-body garments at that time. And so that's how it got started.
Okay, awesome. It's such an interesting dynamic to technology, the garment, the fabric part of it. What took you to CES this year? I mean, obviously it's the biggest show for technology, but what I'm curious to know, and I'm going to say one of the things that I try to do when I cover stories is I'm trying to connect your audience to you. So if there's someone in my audience who may be a buyer or a customer or someone interested, I want to try to position you to get the visibility there to that group. So can you just share with me, who is your ideal audience? What took you to the show? Who were you looking to connect with?
Yeah, it's actually a great question and has layers to it because we've matured through the years. And so what took us to CES, again this year is now that we have what we call technology platforms, and let's say we have half a dozen technology platforms. This would be lighting, thermal regulation, meaning heating or cooling, sensors on the body, feedback, meaning like haptics feedback, and so on. So we have these technology platforms, and we found that now here in 2023, this is actually in quite high demand to be integrated with fabric or textiles in some fashion. It could be on a garment, but also with metaverse and health and wellness. It could be on headgear, right? A VR, AR headset or a sleep monitor that's over the head. It could also be devices, IoT devices, like a smartwatch, to have some textile, some fabric type of wristband that perhaps includes some technology in it as well. So because of the mega trends of everybody wanting to capture data, and with AI and analytics, machine learning, the interpretation of that data to guide consumers or patients, right? And then remote health, right? Remote patient monitoring. These trends have really boosted the demand for now what I would say are lower cost technology that's easily in the sense of development, but not so much in producing high quality, easily integrate this technology into all different types of form factors on your body, right? So all this pent-up demand has now reached an inflection point. And so that's what brought us to CES this year. And, I can talk about some, big brand customers, whether from high tech or from health and wellness. But it's really these sectors that gravitate towards us.
Ulysses, Mr. Wong, thank you for giving that thoughtful explanation to the topic we're discussing, because you're so right. There's so much, let's just say, emphasis on the microchip or the light, the diode. However, integrating these technologies with humans for a customer experience, it requires this sense of, and I don't know the terms that you know, sir, but it takes this sensibility around how does this fabric interact with our skin? How does it enhance the relationship between technology and human? What are the fashion components? There's all of these customer elements that I would say, when I think about technology, it's like, how fast is it, or how cool does it look? But with this engineering that you're doing, you're in a world of all of these crazy fabrics, from rayon and what I think is like you probably know the term, but it's like like these carbon nanofiber things. Can you just explain to me? I want to, because I'm getting excited about it. Can you explain to me in the audience? There is a relationship between textiles and humans it inspires the mind, but it also needs to serve these functional properties. How is that industry evolving? I mean, you're like a scientist almost.
Yeah, you're so right, Dennis. I talked about the kind of technology enablers, but really, you mentioned fashion. So comfort and fashion is now very key. For instance, if you think about your classic high-tech companies, computer companies even, right? Whether that's Apple, Dell, Amazon, what have you, the devices that they have made and, created, these wonderful IoT type of devices, they're looking for softer, more comfortable appeal to them. And so it could be a fabric piece. It's really about replacing or augmenting the plastics with textiles, right? Make it softer, make it something that is, I think you use some really nice, colorful words just to have a more seamless customer experience, right? So there's that aspect. But then as far as textiles itself and the traditional apparel companies, and I mentioned our top customers, including Nike and Lulu. These, they're great at what they do. And so they're not going to want to necessarily rock the boat and change it too much. But now, because of the ability to capture data, because of the focus of consumers, some consumers have aged, baby boomers. There's many more baby boomers. There's many that are now focused on their personal health. There's this trend of remote health. So all of that combined with comfort, with fashion, these elements have combined to really enable this growth that we're talking about. So in a way, we're fortunate because we have the traditional apparel companies that are interested in integrating this type of technology, but we also have traditional high-tech companies, right? So we really have these two worlds that are kind of merging together with what we do, which is integrating this technology so robustly, make it washable, make it comfortable, make it appealing, make it look nice and fashionable. So it's a nice combination of trends from these two sectors.
I'm going to dive in on those trends. So for my audience, I have customer experience leaders from all over the world who I try to share these different aspects of industry. And this is perfect. This conversation, I'm out of my depth in some degree because I'm so much into the software and the experiences, customer happiness. But I know that a CMO or a CXO at a major brand has got to be listening and saying, or I would hope they would say, what is my relationship to my customer and this converging trend of technology? And what advice do you have for a chief customer officer, a chief experience officer who understands that their brand has to evolve with technology? And I'm going to give you a use case here. Let's say I'm a CXO of a international restaurant. Okay. I might just say at first blush, I sell food. It doesn't have anything to do with me. But I would venture a guess that you might say in the next 5 years, blood glucose monitoring might be a technology that affects everyone and is going to be a huge impact on food, restaurants, and a brand who can say, you know what? I heard this thing with Ulysses and Dennis. There should be a way that we can prepare to have our customers understand that we're concerned about their blood glucose. And these textiles are an element that I wasn't thinking of. I'm, of course, leading you into this conversation, but am I accurate there in the way I'm thinking about these trends and how they're going to merge? Or is there something you can correct me in terms of the vision?
No, Dennis, you're spot on that. In fact, when I talk about having sensors, right? And I'm just going to visually, just show you what I mean. I mean, these are just, small, maybe, 1.5 inch woven or knitted sensors that go inside garments and fabrics, and there's electrical connections seamlessly built in. But as you mentioned, with blood glucose monitoring for diabetes, heart rate, right? ECG type of sensors, which today we do with, for example, with athletic bras, right? We incorporate 3 sensors into this as well. So these kind of sensors are easily embedded for this customer experience, no doubt. I talked earlier about sleep monitoring, right? Sleep wellness is a big deal right now, right? Yes. And so for the common person, and so whether it's heart, whether it's brain, whether it's blood, and we also get into pain management with thermal regulation and a heated pain band. So all of that. And again, this trend of health and wellness and taking it personally, taking ownership of it. But yes, if a restaurant owner, if I guess name if a warehouse, right, for worker safety, right? You had this kind of monitoring. A department store, right? You can walk, just being able to track your employees health wise. You name it, there's an application for it.
I appreciate you helping me educate my audience and be educated. You're opening my eyes to so much. Here's what comes to mind. In May, I'm giving a talk in Canada on the patient experience. Right. And so much what you just are alerting me to is so much of the patient experience conversation that we have is about the journey and the empathy and the process of the patient experience. But here you are, you have an entire industry that you're in that is about this subtle nuance of how do we monitor patients? How do we provide these new technologies that can enhance their lives without being obtrusive? I was a child who had to wear headgear. That was like very anti-customer experience. And I just imagine, had there been an industry around, how does this textile work? What is the I don't even know, ergonomic or the fit that helps me engage with this technology in a new way that's got to support patient outcomes? I probably would have worn my headgear longer had it not been so uncomfortable. Can you just unpack those ideas for me for the audience?
For sure. And I'm going to mention a couple things, a couple of trends right now. And I'm going to start with, I know this isn't good for our listening audience, but let me just show you and describe. Just launched last week is this sleeve, this recovery and wellness sleeve.
Yes.
That was announced by Therabody. This happens to be an arm sleeve, but
yes,
we've also co-created a calf sleeve as well. But this doesn't have sensors in it at this point. What it does have, besides the compression sleeve, which we provided the fabric for, is it has these haptics motors. There's 9 of them that are embedded in here, and it allows for this proprietary vibration technology of Therabody. So it provides a massage effect, right? They're known for their Theraguns. So this is basically, while you're moving, while you're mobile, massaging you and providing that therapy as you go.
This
right?
This interview is rapidly becoming one of my favorite interviews all year. Ulysses, do you prefer Ulysses or Mr. Wong?
Ulysses is fine.
All right. Ulysses, I'm an older gentleman. I'm in my 50s, and for a year I had a problem with my left arm. It was my exercise routine or something had created like a pinched nerve. My left arm hurt all the time. And if I wore a compression sleeve, but it didn't have the stimulation that I needed to continue recovery pulse arm. Yes. Had I had that device, you can believe I would have purchased it. I must have 2 or 3 different compression sleeves. I also got those little wraps that wrap around you're nodding. Yeah, that wrap here. This is so interesting because the wrap that I had on my forearm was just a elastic strap with a piece of plastic and a hinge that I could make the pressure more. But if I would have had someone like you who was saying, let's think about this experience that he's having. His entire arm needs compression, but there's a circulation that needs to happen when you compress the arm, and it's tight enough to stop the pain, but it stops the circulation. We can introduce technology there, and it doesn't have to itch. It can breathe, that sort of things. I'm just fascinated now even more than ever about what you're saying.
And not only that, but believe it or not, I mentioned this particular sleeve has what we call 9 haptics motors inside. This is washable, right? So, that's the whole beauty and really secret sauce of what we do, right? To be able to, what we call encapsulate the motors and to have a robust construction so that you can go up to 50, sometimes 100 wash cycles on these things.
All right. So I want to make sure I get this right. Feel free to say no. What you do is you create products using fabrics that support and align with technology seamlessly so that technologies can be introduced to our normal everyday lives in unobtrusive, fashionable, potentially fashionable ways that don't need extra care or servicing. They're not like a new behavior that I have to learn as a person. I just understand that I can now improve the pain in my arm by the sleeve, and I just throw it in the wash and I go about my day. Is that accurate?
You got it, Dennis. Very, very well captured. And I love the words you chose with, like unobtrusive. So exactly, that's it. And maybe kind of circling back to what you asked me before I showed you this sleeve. So what we're seeing also is another trend from clients is they want to put all kinds of sensors on the body. So they could have a full body garment, and let's call it, whatever, 9, 10, 11 sensors on it. They want to capture the motions of your movement of your body, whether it's your torso, your arms, your legs. And this can be used in multiple ways. There's an acronym that's used called MoCap, short for motion capture. All right. Yep. So these companies, while their main skill is the creating the AI code, the analytics, and all that, what they're doing is with these sensors on let's call it a patient who's recovering from a severe injury. Right. They're able to capture the movements, the gaits, and compare it to, have a baseline and see improvement, and maybe perhaps guide the type of exercises or movement that's further needed, right? So that's one use case. One is maybe some elite professional athletes, right? They have a base case of their motion, whether it's a quarterback's throwing motion, a golfer's motion, and they can capture these very acute differences as they go. So it's this type of motion capturing is another trend that we're seeing. And so we of course gladly take on the challenge of creating that full body garment with X number of sensors. And then this software, company or expert, they have all the analytics. So they'll take it and they'll guide the consumer, guide the patient. So that's another popular case that we have.
Thank you for bringing that up. So my mind, of course, went to VR and these suits that people, but I don't think, that I love that you brought it to this functionality of humankind. What I will tell you is I was reading a year ago that by capturing the motion and the gait, that you could, there were doctors who felt like there was a way to predict Parkinson's early by seeing a fluctuation in the gait that was abnormal. So we do know that the human body in motion, when it can be measured, it opens up a new realm of understanding or visibility to diagnoses or data. Certainly, to your point, athletes, if you could compile the motion data for athletes across an entire season, I mean, the coaches probably would go wild. But that's the technology. And I want to bring the conversation back to, if I'm wearing a motion device that's going to give me an early warning about maybe a medical condition, I'm getting a little sci-fi. I don't want this thing to be a set of overalls with a bunch of heavy batteries and it to be obstructive to my normal life. I think what you're doing is you're enabling technology to adapt to humankind customers in a way that is beneficial for all of us. And I don't want to go back to the word unobtrusive, but what I'm taking from this conversation is, there's this little nuance, a company like yours, Softmatter, who's not trying to change the world, but trying to bring the change of the world to people. And it's a small little area of the industry, but it's really one of the most important parts of our lives that I feel like we don't talk about at all. And I'm so grateful to have this conversation with you.
Dennis, I'm really impressed. You've captured it really well in our brief conversation of the value and all that. So no, you got it spot on. Exactly. You're right. It's kind of starting out as a niche right now, right? There's not, I mean, the companies, by the way, one important point with what we do, all the products are new to world, first time introduced, right?
Yes.
So it's not like it's on their product roadmap. They first have to, it's really born from their innovation groups. So it takes time, right? What I just showed you, the Therabody sleeve, we worked on for over a year with them, right? Before it got to this point, the final product. So all of this is new to world stuff, which makes it exciting. And to your point, it is to really better our everyday lives, right?
I'm sorry, you got me excited. I'm going to dig in. It's jump right in there because you're exactly right. I've been working on a mastermind session for a bunch of product leaders in Chicago. And I have this whole presentation, and never once did I look ahead to these nuances of, hey, have you ever thought about how these products live with a human? Like, you're thinking about it through a screen or over a phone, but these products, these things are going to be part of our existence. And you're just, what the irony is, you're like, it's a little niche, except for every single company in the world is going to have to talk to you at some point to engage with the, we say virtual reality, but you're like a reality product.
I like that. Yeah, exactly. So we actually, you kind of bring it more personal, right? Yeah. We have the ability to make it more personal. But yes, even in a gaming environment, let's call it, right? I didn't talk much about haptics feedback, but the motors I talked about in the sleeve, that creates a vibration. And so you can imagine in a game, right? I don't want to say shooting, but if you have something that jolts the person, you can make that a reality on the person, right? On their vest and something like that. So even in the gaming environment, right? So we do bring it all into real life, the comfort and the feeling that's supposed to be generated.
I was able to engage with a technology company at CES that was the haptic company.
Okay.
And what they did is they had gloves that allowed you to feel what you were picking up. And that was a very interesting experience. But their gloves weren't that great. They should have talked to you because the gloves were clearly adapted from existing gloves that were not thinking about how does technology, the wires alone. I mean, it was so I see the amazing, you're sort of like a crack in the darkness that's some light shining through. I think you're going to get more and more engaged across every industry, every sector. I can see it, obviously, shoes, clothing, fashion, medical devices, sports, even things in my office, I bet I could think about in terms of, I could probably think of applications for this all day long now that you've opened my eyes to it. I'll tell you another, just because we're sharing. I could see, so when I travel around the world and I talk to different customer experience leaders, I'm going to just take a little bit of a diversion here, but it's the same mentality. At Expo in Dubai, because they created a digital twin of the city before they built it, and they could layer in weather data, and they could layer in experiences, they could craft the construction of the buildings so that the breezeways in between in the buildings lowered the heat for the people as they walked. Great for the environment, great for the customer, great for science and engineering and innovation. And then I think about when I go to places like Africa and others where customer experiences are very different, but clothing with technology in it that helps the human adapt to their environment in a way that your sports bra is perfect. Wearing a device that monitors my heart to improve my health that isn't obtrusive, but if it also tells me my body temperature or enables me to be warmer in a colder climate, all of these adaptive technologies will give humans a better opportunity for adventure, but also just normal survival in our daily lives, enhancing our lives.
Big time. And Dennis, you while you captured it all well, one thing I have not mentioned is, what makes us good at what we do, right? What's our secret sauce? Besides this know-how of the application, it's actually the ability to know the best way to integrate, the sensors that I showed you, right? The electrical wires, right? So whether it's these type of wires that go inside the fabric or these type of silicon sensors, but how best to construct it to make it washable, to make it durable, and then to your point about comfort and fashion, to make it look good, to make it attractive, to make so that's our secret sauce: the know-how and having the equipment, inventing our own tools and all that to expertly integrate all that. And then the second secret sauce is, okay, you can make one or two of that. You can go in a lab and do that. But now how do you make millions of these? And that's the scale of production, right? And that's where we then invent and create our own fixtures, our own tooling, because it's all unique. This is all new to world stuff, as I mentioned, right? So there's no existing tools for all these different form factors, right? So we know how to make it. We know how it needs to intersect with fabric and with the technology, right? With enough tolerances and pressure and all that, so that you can just run millions of units through the production line at high quality.
Yeah. And what I would suspect, yes, you talked about the scale of delivery of these new, yet to be imagined products. But what I'd be curious, in that system, yes, you can do 1 million, but you can probably also do 1,000,005 or 1,000,007. It's not like somebody has to come to you and they say, you don't say to them, you can get 1 million or 5 million or 10 million. You're like, listen, once the system, it almost feels like just-in-time manufacturing for innovation. Am I stretching that too far?
Well, it's just in time in terms of the creativity. It does take time during the whole development process for us and our client to align on what do we think is going to be the most robust.
Let me clarify my statement there. When I say just-in-time manufacturing, what I mean is once your client has worked with you to properly innovate, test, comply, create value, and you get these things on into the assembly lines or into the supply chain, you don't have to, I'm just curious, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you don't have to have a lot of inventory sitting around. Like if they buy the first 1 million and they only have 200,000 more customers, they can get those 1.2 million.
Yeah.
And then, so there's not a lot of waste in your engineering process either.
Yeah, that's a good catch, Dennis. Thanks for that clarification. And there's this other aspect. On the one hand, we need to have our own supply chain or work with our customer on their supply chain of technology raw materials, but we're also experts in the textile raw materials, right? The right amount of yarn to buy, right? The proper dyeing process. So what I'm talking about is just our whole supply chain in our core business, which is apparel, right? So the different types of fabrics, the different type of what we call engineering knit, right? So it could be what we call flat knit, circular knit, warp knit. So all these variations and permutations of how to construct something according to what's needed for that final end product. So we have that supply chain in spades, right? We've had it for 30 years, and there's innovation in that area as well. So
So what you're saying there is you have a fully mature production and supply chain ecosystem that now your Softmatter innovative layer sits on that and is a bridge between everyday, let's say, traditional apparel and textiles. But you're the innovation piece that connects the product innovation in the IoT space or technology spaces to the garments and the lifestyles of humans at scale.
Yep. Again, well put, Dennis. But yes, exactly. Okay.
And it's funny because we led with that, but I understand it now. And what's even probably more important is the audience understands it better. And I do think I'm happy to be with you on this journey because it is an educating the market piece of it. Because I think when they visit your website and they think, oh, what is this? But I don't think it really tells people that this is a doorway that everybody will go through, not because of all the brands, but every customer, every human everywhere is going to go through this doorway, and they're going to meet their relationship with technologies on some level, whether it's as a patient or as an avid sports person, gamer, but we will get here. And you're the first person I've ever spoke to that's specialized in this area. So thank you for meeting with me. And my apologies again for just my schedule being so crazy.
No worry. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So my podcast is called CX in the Wild. I only do these things on location, and they're really unscripted, as you can see. But what I like about it is when I'm getting to know you, the audience is getting to know you. So it's kind of an exploratory essay. I'm going to edit some of the extra pieces out of this just because we're doing it in the studio today. Tell me, I think what I'd be interested to share just in this last clothing in this last closing is, what is the ideal use case? You're in the market. You're in while it's a niche, it's a giant open field and not everyone is ready. What is the one use case if you were like, this is what we have ready to go right now. If there's a brand out there who's got to do this, we need to talk to you. What is that use case?
Yeah, that, it's actually a few, right? Okay. And so couple of use cases. One, we talked a lot about just sensors on a garment, right? Whether it's a ECG sensor, whether it's an EMG sensor for muscle movement and whatnot. So any kind of sensor that on a garment, right? On a top, a bottom, that's our bread and butter. We know how to do that day and night and know how to make it robust, fashionable, washable, and all of that. So that's a given, a sweet spot. Where we're getting into that is kind of maybe even, leading edge is on these other form factors, whether it be the wrist and the, textile fabric, wristband or watch band, and also on the head, right? The ability to incorporate, sensors within these soft headbands. So I would say that, any incorporation of sensors, or even haptics motors, like we did with Therabody, on the sleeves, on the body. So, all of that, anything with this type of fabric is where we shine, right?
I just hope one of my favorite experiences and most unpleasant experiences is playing Beat Saber because of this head, the way it fits to my head. So I hope you're solving that pretty soon.
So we think that gaming has tons of opportunity. We haven't yet had a chance to work with the client on gaming, but we think that I mentioned about the haptics, but whether it's that, whether it's something audio related, and helping them move electronics around in the AR VR headset, just the ability to integrate some technology into the fabric itself, so you have a better weightage balance on the headset, right? So anyway, all of that is fair game for us. So we're just excited about where we are in this space.
All right. I'm going to put all of your contact information in my posts when I post about you. But softmatter.io is your website, so people can get you there. Ulysses, it's been more than a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for being on the podcast. Is there any final words you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, we're a global company. Even our core business is obviously global. I happen to be in Silicon Valley in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we're big yet small, right? We were spun out of this innovation arm. And so we're super agile, super flexible. I personally like to talk and meet with clients. And we just had a really great, interesting, energetic conversation. And I like to do that and see that exploration develop with my clients. So I'm happy to do that. And please feel free to contact me as well through email address and through our website. I'd be happy and thrilled to meet with potential clients.
Awesome. You are awesome. Thank you, Ulysses, very much.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks for listening to CX in the Wild. We hope to see you the next episode.